So my name is Maher and I'm a lead security researcher in the global research and analysis team at Kaspersky. I'm based in Dubai and we focus on detecting and analyzing threats, cyber threats in the Middle East, Turkey and Africa region. And we support our clients to understand those threats and to defend against them.
When you talk about this threat intelligence, what kind of threats are emerging from this region?
So in this region, as many regions worldwide, there are cyber threats affecting the entire infrastructure or the ecosystem, as we say, right? Because we have data, and then users have data on the digital infrastructure. So cyber threats will evolve, right? So will evolve from time and then, depending on the situation, geopolitical situation, economic situation, global climate, and so forth. And this region, as many others, we see different types of threats. Some are increasing, some are decreasing. For example, infostealers are increasing globally, including the region. And infostealer is interesting because when a user is infected with an infostealer, their username and passwords, their private details, login details, and so forth for banks, for other websites will be stolen and then will be sold in the dark web. Now, what's interesting about that is that a human by nature use or reuse the same passwords and the same credentials, right? So whenever their username and password is sold on the internet, on the dark web, it might have a cascading effect. Like they might be able, the cyber criminals might be able to steal their financial data, even make fraud as well and steal their money, but also log in to their company email credentials as well, because they use the same passwords. So it has a cascading effect. We also see, some people will see that ransomware is increasing globally, but we have seen it as a bit decreasing in the number of victims globally. But interestingly, we see at the same time an increase in the number of ransomware groups. So for example, in the previous year, in 2023, we saw it as about 60 ransomware groups. But in 2024, they increased to 81. So even though there's a general decrease in the ransomware victims, but there's an increase in the ransomware groups, which give us an indication that ransomware will stay here. Especially that we have seen ransomware groups are using AI, are using different technologies to keep themselves at the edge of cybercrime.
How do you ensure that these threats are addressed effectively and customers are not facing problems?
Right, so we try to be as fast as possible in detecting them and analyzing them and how they work. Because at the end of the day, cyber criminals will use certain methods and techniques to infect users. Then when we understand how they do that, how do they operate, we try to make detection capabilities and enhance our detection rules to block them at the early stages. Now, once you block them at the early stages, you are minimizing their impact.
Which are the new cybersecurity trends shaping the region?
So, it depends if you are looking at it from a cyber threat perspective or from a technology perspective. We are seeing everybody using now AI kind of buzzwords, but AI has been there for a long time, under different namings like machine learning and stuff. But nowadays, since at least 2-3 years, LLM or large language models have been making really the big waves there, especially since it gives the humans the connectivity with the data, direct connectivity with the data. You try to connect with the data in a way or another and interact with it. Now that gives that brings different use cases, of course, but I'm afraid that people are over-relying on it too much, and thinking it's an AI, it must be super intelligent and giving us the answer without validating it. But that's wrong. And there's something called, usually in technology, there's false positives, right? So in cybersecurity, there's false positive, but also in LLMs, large language models, there's also false positive, but it's called hallucinations. And I think what's important here to mention is that a human remains an important element even with the development and the evolution of AI and artificial intelligence, because humans need to validate and oversee what does the AI or LLM or even the machine learning false positive and hallucination brings. validate that, and then use it. Not use it blindly because it will give a lot of issues at the end.
How do you secure AI?
Securing AI can be can take different angles. Are you securing AI from like the infrastructure hosting AI, or are you securing the AI model itself? Totally different elements. I think what's important here is to make sure that you have the right data first of all, and have the right frameworks to protect the data and what comes out of the data. But also you need to know that LLMs and models and AI are hosted in an infrastructure, and if you compromise that infrastructure, you may compromise the users and what brings on afterward as a consequence. So therefore you need to secure it as a package. It's not like a black box, it's not like an alien technology, it's similar to any other technology, right? It's, for example, if you are considering ChatGPT as one of the solutions, it's yet another cloud-based solution, right? It's like emails. You use a username and password to log in and so forth. It's the same thing. So it's not like, and the risks are similar to also cloud-based solution. So it's not an alien technology, it's something like similar to many other technologies. You secure it in the same way to a certain extent.
What are the biggest challenges your customers face?
I think customers have issues in understanding the infrastructure. As they say, know yourself and know your enemy, right? So I think customers have really main issue in knowing themselves first, but also an important aspect is they don't know their enemy. They don't know what are the cyber threats that may affect them. And also, I think we have a challenge that is a common across different clients, and we keep hearing about that. Like we see a lot of cyber threats. What do we focus on? They don't know what to focus on, what to prioritize. And I think that starts with the threat modeling, understanding themselves, understanding who might target them and so forth, so they can know accordingly how to defend against those cyber threats.
How can CIOs and CSOs defend their infrastructure?
I think know yourself is a good starting point. Know your infrastructure. If you look at the different standards, the different frameworks out there like NIST and others, they will all start with know yourself. In other words, having a register with your technology, with your software and so forth. And then once you have that scope in mind, then you start investigating on how you can defend against them, against threats that may target them as well. So know yourself and understand the supply chain, because that's a big thing nowadays.
With the market flooded with thousands of cybersecurity vendors, how does a customer choose the right cybersecurity partner?
I think if you compare things, you see the capabilities of the entity. You see what do they have in terms of products. Some people or some companies have issues with privacy, like they don't like public or cloud stuff. So we have solutions private and so forth. So it really depends on multiple factors, but knowing the company, the trustworthiness, transparency, the capabilities, the technology that they use, it's one of the many aspects that you look at.
Where is cybersecurity heading?
I think the big driver nowadays is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, when you say about AI, it's not the machine learning that we used to use it for 20 years. But it's more about the generative AI, the deep fakes. There's a lot of interesting details that makes it really important to look at. Because in generative AI, now you can create a deep fake. And that you can make it even with at home if you have the right tools and right know-how. That makes it really interesting, tricky, and dangerous at the same time, because it's getting better over time. And with that, imagine you are able to clone someone's voice from only 15 seconds of his audio. And then you can use that voice to talk to the bank on his behalf if you have the voice feature active. So that makes it very tricky. And people should be validating like triple times now with such technologies are evolving.